To Speak Up Newport. My name's Ed Sellich, President. I'd like to welcome you to our November program. First of all, I'd like to thank the Bungalow for Thanksgiving dinner ahead of time. Hope you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed that pumpkin cheesecake. That was terrific. We're right in the middle of our membership campaign for 2023. So if you have not purchased a new Speak Up Newport membership, would like to encourage you to do so. Your purchase of a membership helps support these programs that we do. We do 10 of them a year, plus the Mayor's Dinner. So you can go to our website, www.speakupnewport.com, and purchase a membership if you haven't already. And we do need your support to keep these programs going. We're trying to do programs of interest to the whole community and things of importance. If you have ideas or suggestions on subjects or topics you want to hear, feel free to suggest it to us. We're always open to suggestions, and we really need your support. So anything you can do, we'd appreciate. We're through our elections. We finished those yesterday. I think everyone's probably relieved to not be getting all the mailers in the mail now and getting back to being normal. Congratulations to Robin Grant, elected to City Council.
And Joe. And Eric.
Oh, Eric, and Joe. Well, beauty before anything else. All right, sorry guys. So our program tonight is on fire safety and the insurance requirements that are coming along with that. And so our moderator this evening is going to be our board member, Jeff Boyles. He is our fire chief. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ed. Good evening, everyone. My name's Jeff Boyles. I am the fire chief, and can you hear me okay? Let me raise this just a tad. I'm usually not as funny as Rush Hill and Steve Rosansky when they tag team, but Eric and Joe, mental note, you have to sit in the front for Ed to see you in the future. I was going to say the same thing. Congratulations, Robin, Eric, and Joe. 4 new council members will be starting, and 3 of them are with us tonight. So I think we're very fortunate how engaged our community is. And with that, you'll see how many of you are coming out for a subject that Chief Bass and I, Kevin Bass, our fire marshal, who I'll introduce here in just a second, have been dealing with the last couple of years up and down the state, most notably here in Newport Beach in the Buckle area. But this is a topic that's timely. Back when we were trying to figure out the November topic this was probably August or September, Robin came up with the idea, since the election was drawing so much fatigue from everybody, to let's do a timely fire presentation program so that the people in the areas that are affected by the high fire hazard can get some answers and ask directly. So we did get a phone call that Julia Juarez is running about 5 minutes late, so I'm trying to stall here because I think it's 6:04. So if she really is 5 minutes late, hopefully she'll be walking in here any minute. But she's going to go through a presentation. She has a presentation. Did we already cue that up as well? Okay, so it's queued up. So when she gets here, she'll be coming in on a wing and a prayer here. We'll just welcome her, and then she'll go into her presentation. Kevin Bass will follow up, and then we'll have a Q&A after that. But with that, let me introduce Kevin, our fire marshal here in Newport Beach. He's worked with the city of Newport Beach, particularly our fire department is our fire marshal since 2019. And for those of you that are not aware, or maybe some were paying attention back in 16, 17, 18, right in that area, we used to have a fire marshal that came from our fire department ranks. We call it a safety position. And we changed that up. We did away with the position altogether. For a couple of years, we did not have a fire marshal. And on paper and in theory, that seemed like we could get away in this city without a fire marshal until we realized the amount of work and the complexities and the moving parts that go into it. So we went back to city manager, which was Dave Kiff at the time, and the city council, and put a civilian fire marshal onto the books, and we cast a wide net, and we found Kevin Bass. He's been the assistant fire marshal with the Orange County Fire Authority for 16 years prior to joining us, with experience in fire prevention and plan reviews. And this is all expertise that's developed over the course of a career. He served as a city planner for the city of Anaheim, reviewing and managing development projects ranging from residential tracts to commercial and industrial projects from 1989 to 2002. And one of the things that I like about Kevin as the fire chief, and I feel comfortable and I turn things over to him, he's a former elected board trustee for the Fullerton School District. He served from 2002 to 2006. So one of the things that Kevin understands is elections, like Joe, Eric, and Robin, and what it takes to get elected, what it takes to put your body armor when you're up there on getting beat up by, in the school board, especially by parents and teachers and what have you. So Kevin is very good about collaborative approach and understanding things and working through different issues. So having said that, looks like we have a little post-election fatigue. Our room is usually full, but we have a pretty good turnout, and I commend you for coming down in the cold tonight. We've been going through, at the state level, like I said, a lot of legislative efforts, both Kevin and I, locally, but then regionally, and then statewide. And you may remember the Emerald Fire, which was the one in Emerald Bay, Laguna Beach recently, and the, what was the other one, the Coastal Fire.
The Coastal Fire.
Over in Laguna Niguel. So those in particular are driving a lot of some of the things that we're going to see in our fire code adoption coming up here with regards to some of the setbacks, some of the mesh things, and Kevin will go into home hardening and how to best protect your home and protect your area, which hopefully will translate to the insurance companies as well. I think with that, Kevin, did you...
I can
put
go
you on the
ahead.
spot, but
Yeah.
he could talk about fire prevention and this sort of thing all night long, and that's what you came to hear. So I'll turn it over to him. When Ms. Juarez walks in, we'll introduce her as well.
Good evening, everyone. When we talk about wildfire prevention, usually everybody thinks about vegetation. Got to cut that tree down, got to cut the brush back and such. And it's a lot more than that. As a matter of fact, when I started with Orange County Fire Authority, the big push for new development was create fuel modification. Fuel modification. Well, what that is a really big setback of cut down, modified landscaping, and the fire runs up to it and then kind of lays down. And it works great for defense of the homes right up against the urban edge. But we found out in 2008 that embers really are causing the problems. We're not getting that direct flame hitting the homes and destroying them like we used to see in the 70s and the 80s. Now it's all embers. Embers are the problem. So since 2008, Orange County Fire Authority and other agencies have been kind of talking about it. How do we get people to think about it? And it's taken a lot of time because there wasn't any real big drive until 2015 when we had the Tubbs fire up in Santa Rosa. And that's when we saw the fire communicate from the wildland area into interior neighborhoods. It was all through pine trees, pine needles. People use pine needles as a weed block and as a drought retention, keep soil wet. So we are learning a lot about vegetation and how it communicates fire. But the other thing about that fire is we saw whole neighborhoods destroyed because of embers blowing through 70s styles architecture. And everybody had, wide screens, the big 1/4-inch mesh that we all grew up with. We also saw people with wood shake roofs. We also saw people with wooden fences and a lot of things that we didn't really think about as a fire agency on how these embers create little fires that become big fires. So after the 2015 fire, and then we started seeing more and more, Orange County Fire Authority along with CAL FIRE started putting together programs and working with the insurance industry for how can we solve the fire question. And it really came down to simple things that homeowners can do in order to make their houses tougher. because we want you to evacuate. We want you to go and be safe. And then the house defends itself, a body of armor, as you may say. So what we've learned through a lot of testing, and they manufactured these testing laboratories to show how the embers hit, and it really comes down to just a few basic things. First, your roof. If your roof works, you are well protected. So what does that mean? If you got a composition roof, it's actually a really good roof. You can have pine needles on it and it kind of melts and it protects it. Tile roofs, really tough if you keep the tiles on the roof. It's amazing how you forget tiles blow away or crunch or such. So making sure that the roof's in good shape, that's what we're shooting for. Then the weak spot, it's the vents. Nobody ever thought a 1/4-inch vent, 1/4 is the size of the hole, would be such a threat. I mean, 1/4 stops the insects. It allows the house to breathe. It seems to work for everything else, but those little embers blow right in. And if you ever need convincing, I'll show you a YouTube video that shows that methodology, and the difference between a 1/4 and 1/8 inch is astronomical in terms of the protection levels. And okay, we see that in laboratory tests, and then I get a firsthand explanation in the coastal fire over in Laguna Niguel. I got to watch it on TV, how houses look great, and then all of a sudden you see the smoke blowing out from underneath the roof. Then I talked to the firefighters who are on the scene, I talked to the investigators, and then I talked to the homeowners, both who survived the fire and those who lost their homes. And they all knew that the fires were coming through their vents. And when I went and looked, I saw the most interesting thing for those homes. They had these enormous gable vents with really beautiful decorative surrounds around them. They were part of the architecture. It looked really nice. Problem is, that's where the wind was blowing and that's where it pushed the embers through. The houses that had the embers that were parallel to the wind, they were safe. It's amazing how that little issue made such a big difference. So what we have done is we've got a flyer that we've been passing out that came from the Cal Fire, the state fire marshal, that talks about the improvements you can make at your home. And we always start at the roof, the vents, the windows, and then the ground, and then out. The vegetation you do next to your house is much more important than the vegetation that's 100 feet away. But it all has value. So what I'd like to wrap this up with is that if you have questions on your home, your individual home, give my department a call. We do individual home assessments. The next thing that we do is we go out and we talk with the HOAs. When the HOAs invite us, we come and talk about how we can help your community, your neighborhood. And you'll see that by hardening your home, step 1, taking care of your individual vegetation, step 2, and then putting together a community-wide landscape program that takes away the threat of embers, step 3, really is in sync with what the Department of Insurance is asking for. We are right there step to step with what Commissioner Lara has asked in terms of bringing homeowners to the table and seeing what they can do to make their homes tougher, make their neighborhoods safer, and help solve part of the other problem, which is the insurance crisis. With that said,
Is this on? Hi, I'm Robin Grant, and I'm co-hosting this evening with our wonderful Chief Boyles. And we do have our second guest and speaker here today. I'll just invite you to have a seat, and I will read the bio for Deputy Commissioner Julia Juarez, working with the California Department of Insurance. Julia leads the California Department of Insurance Community Relations and Outreach Branch. The department has met with hundreds of thousands of consumers throughout the state who have been adversely affected by the state's unprecedented wildfires, floods, earthquakes, and the pandemic. With over 17 years of public and private sector outreach, education, and management experience, Julia oversees constituent outreach with federal, state, and local elected district offices and leads the department's expanded efforts to assist wildfire survivors, local governments, small businesses, and consumers in accessing the department's many services. Julia holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in English Literature and Political Science from Point Loma Nazarene University, as well as a master's degree in Leadership and Organizational Studies from Azusa Pacific University. Welcome. We appreciate you being here. We look forward to your presentation.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure being here with you. I am delighted to be here on behalf of Commissioner Lara. We are going all around the state meeting with different folks that are having the same questions that you are. Very specifically, especially because the insurance companies are very concerned about all of the different wildfires and all the different perils that the state has been enduring as of the last 4 years or so, and then of course the pandemic. So all of those things have been something that we have been working with to make sure that communities like yours know exactly how to get a hold of us and how we can be of assistance to you. So when I do presentations, I like to make absolutely sure that we all are on the same page to begin with. So I like to go, to just review with you what the Department of Insurance does and what can we do and what can't we do. So we absolutely protect consumers and work with most insurance. Whoa, sorry, this went back a little. Nope, I needed to stop. I apologize for that. Here we go. Okay. So we set standards for agents and do market reviews, market conduct reviews, and of course work with consumers to resolve complaints. But the one thing that we cannot do is we cannot compel or make an insurance companies give us insurance, sell insurance in any way, shape, or form. A lot of folks have come to us and said, if they're doing business in the state, then they should have to. But unfortunately, we have not, do not have the ability to do that. So in the last 4 years, we have met with with thousands of folks to try to understand what are the main issues that you're having and how do we actually, how can we be of assistance to you directly. So we have 52 counties in the state, 54 counties in the state. We have met with folks in all of the counties at this point, and just to understand and try to make sure that we are being responsive to you. So just so you know, the things that we have been working on, we have been able to achieve. We have, first and foremost, looking at the folks that have actually suffered from a wildfire, we made absolutely sure that their coverage for evacuation expenses was being covered. Insurance companies, interestingly enough, would say, well, your house didn't burn, so there's no reason for you to get any money for that. But you had to evacuate. And for instance, in the case of Paradise, people weren't able to move back into their home because there was no, electricity or water or things like that you need in order to be back home. So we made sure that was fixed. And then also made sure that additional living expenses were reviewed and that they were covered as well by the insurance companies. And then the last part was made absolutely sure that insurance companies were also letting you know exactly what it was that they were going to be able to cover, but also work with you to make sure that the upgraded building codes were actually part of your insurance coverage, because most of us, when we buy our homes, our homes are maybe, even if they were new when you bought them, by the time, if later on, there are several different changes to the building codes, we want to make absolutely sure that we are up to date and that you are able to use your insurance appropriately. And then one of the things that Commissioner Lara did actually when he was in the Senate, introduced a law that made insurance companies wait for them to drop you, because what was happening was insurance companies would say, "There's a fire. Okay, we're out of here. We don't want to cover those folks anymore." So they would just drop people and just non-renew them for the next year of their insurance. So what the commissioners did was, hold on, we're going to give people 1 year moratorium so that they can actually spend the time to, first and foremost, figure themselves out if there is. So when there is a fire the governor has declared a state of emergency for that fire, that community and the community surrounding that fire then have that year to actually, figure out what they need to do, make sure that they have the appropriate insurance, and then also start shopping for different insurance policies and making sure that they are covered. So far, in the last 4 years, 4 million homes have been protected. Policyholders have been protected, and that has given people a little bit more of a breathing room for them to be able to do what they need to. But also, what that has done is has shown the insurance companies that the sky isn't falling. Hold on, let's work together to make sure that we are able to cover what we need to, and that if a fire hit that one community, that community has already been hit. So they're not going to be experiencing another wildfire immediately. So calm down and let's try to figure out how we can work together on this. And then the other part of that was for those communities that were not able to be part of that moratorium, we increased the amount of days that they have to give you to non-renew you. So you have 75 days to look for other insurance or try to figure out what you can do. So it's a little bit better, a better option for you. And we went backwards. All right. So how many of you know about the FAIR Plan? So the FAIR Plan is the insurance of last resort for the state. And it's very much so, just so you are aware exactly what the FAIR Plan is. The FAIR Plan was created by the legislature, but it is not a state program. The FAIR Plan is actually run by the insurance companies. So what happens is all of the insurance companies that do business in the state put together money into this pot for the FAIR Plan. And then people can go and be a part of, purchase the FAIR Plan, and they are part of all of this. But the people that actually run it, that make the decisions, are the insurance companies. They are the board, and they make the decisions as to how to run the FAIR Plan. So the FAIR Plan was created in the 60s after the Watts riots, very specifically for providing insurance for that niche community. At this point now, the FAIR Plan has completely changed in the sense of who are the people that are using it. And it's all over the state, everywhere in the state, people are using it. However, the FAIR Plan had not made any changes in the last 20 years to update the services that they have. So the commissioner made sure that the very first thing we did was ask the FAIR Plan to at least increase their coverage limits, because in California, $1.5 million for many homes is not enough. So at least double that to $3 million, and then commercial properties went up to $8.4 million, and business owners went up to $7.2 million. So we at least were able to get it up to that point. But there's much more work that we need to do with a FAIR Plan, because the FAIR Plan also will sell you insurance, but only for fire. So you still have to go and buy a difference in conditions policy, completely, from the regular market. So what insurance companies were doing was, or at least, they would say, I'm going to make up, ABC Insurance Company. whom you had been a part of, you have been paying your bills with them for many, many years, then they will say, well, we're going to non-renew you because it's too much of a risk for us. So, you can go to the fair plan. You go to the fair plan, you buy the fire, but now you need a difference in conditions. So then ABC Insurance comes back and says, I'll sell you the difference in conditions policy, and then they will sell it to you almost at the same price that you were paying before, but now you have to pay the fair plan, and the fair plan is an exorbitant amount of money as well. And so now you have more bills, less coverage. So that does not work for anyone. It makes no sense. So the commissioner requested for the fair plan to actually provide a full HO3 policy, a full homeowners policy. The fair plan decided to sue the commissioner instead, and said that they didn't believe that the commissioner had the authority to make them do that. So we did get one of the judges did rule with the commissioner saying we do have the authority to do that. They should move forward, but now the fair plan is appealing, so we're still in litigation. So that doesn't help anybody except for the lawyers. And so at that point, what the commissioner decided to do was we need to do a hearing to just investigate. Let's look at the entire fair plan. What is it that they're doing for consumers? Hearing from consumers directly. What do you need? What is it? Where are we falling short with this, so that we can find out what we can do to fix it. So the hearing was held in July, and so now we are working with our local communities, county, state officials, and consumer groups, just to see, how is it that we can fix it. We continue to have those conversations, and we continue to work with them to make improvements. So along with that, we realize we are hearing a lot from HOAs that their policies are, a lot of them are getting non-renewed, in their policies because it is more than one. Obviously for an HOA, it's more than one building. It's more than, it's a lot of buildings. So now that's a commercial policy, and so the fair plan is, kind of backs off of that a little bit, and so we have a major issue because then insurance companies are also are trying to non-renew HOAs. So if you are part of an HOA. And you would like us to look at your plan, review your policies with you, and try to figure out how we can help you. The department is available for that, and so we ask that you have your legal representatives contact us, and we are able to review the policy and try to figure out if there are ways. First and foremost, want to make sure that you understand all of the details of the policy and that there isn't anything there that is not appropriate for you. But then also seeing if there are possibilities for us to help you get something different. So all of these are things that we are, fixing in a patchwork basis. But what we realize is that we need to do something to improve the entire state. Like we need to do something to make sure that we are safer from the wildfires and the floods that come after the wildfires. So the commissioner gathered all of the different agencies in the state with the governor's agencies that work with emergency services, and tried to come up with something that we can all, as a state, can follow and see make our homes safer. And then the expectation is then if our homes are safer, there's less risk, and insurance companies will be able to then provide insurance for us. So what that is called is our Safer from Wildfires 1, 2, 3. Trying to be cheeky with a 1, 2, 3, but it's very much so the one that very specific things, 3 things that we can do. So the very first thing is protecting our structure, and I'm sure you have been talking about all of these things. So it gives you very specific details, what you need to have, what you need to make sure that your home has. And I brought copies of that, so you will all get that as well, and it's in our website as well. But it is very specific things delineating what those are. And so that you can, if you have those things in your home, then you should be able to be safer on that end. Then the next thing is protecting our surrounding spaces, making sure that there is no debris around. I was in Tahoe giving a presentation, and we were told, oh, we had one community that they cleaned up everything and went and mowed the lawn and got everything together, and then put the rags that had the gasoline over underneath underneath their area, like their porch area, which was wood. And so then of course that catches on fire, and then the entire thing catches on fire. So it's like, no, there are very specific things that we need to take care of. So it's like 30 feet, making sure that area is clean, that we don't have things that can easily catch on fire. And it's very simple things that I'm sure that you're quite aware of. And then the last part is our working as a community. You might already be a part of a Firewise community, but the idea is that even if you do everything that you need to do in your home and have your home cleaned up, if the neighbor or someone down the street doesn't do any of that, and their house, it could easily catch on fire, and it does. It doesn't matter how much you did, that fire is gonna, come over to your area as well. So the idea of our community wise, Firewise, is very much so that the whole community as a whole can help each other and can work together so that the entire area is safe. So if you know that there's a neighbor that maybe they can't, pick up or cut a tree down or do something like that, but you are able to, then the idea is for you to be able to work together to take care of those things as a community, as a whole. So right now, the commissioner also, besides putting all of those things together for us, the commissioner decided that he needed to have then teeth behind this, right? So that it's not just something that we're all doing, and then the insurance companies don't really have to be a part of this. So what he did was he made regulations that requires insurance companies to provide the discounts to the homeowners who have done all of these things. So there's a particular, because you have all of those particular things that you can come to the insurance company and say, I have done, then they should be able to give you a discount for that. That's the requirement, that it is now a regulation. Besides that, in the past, way back in the day, the insurance companies will come to your house and look and see, okay, this, your home, you just need to take care of that bush over there, but everything is okay, and then we can take care of it. Now, some people use, maybe could use Google Maps and look at an entire community and say, yeah, there's too much vegetation in this entire community, so we're not going to cover that entire community as a whole. So what this does, they would have wildfire risk scores for that, and we'll tell the community, your fire risk score is way too high. So when you would ask them, well, what is it, and how did you come to it, or what can I do about that, they would say, oh, we can't share that with you, that's proprietary information. And it was every insurance company, all of them had a different system. So what the commissioner did was, nope, we need to have transparency with this. So whatever it is that your process is, you need to share it with your consumer, and then the consumer is going to be able to look at that and review that with you, and then you will have the right to appeal. So if you say, yeah, you're saying that my wildfire risk score is this, but I have done all of these other things, then my fire risk score shouldn't be that, or look at my area is completely different, then they need to review that. So we will have an appeal process so that you're able to do that. So the public hearing for this was on April 13th. We had the regulations created, reviewed. All the lawyers from every angle looked at all of these things, and now those regulations have been approved on October 14th, and now insurance companies have until April 12th of this coming year to submit plans on how they're going to utilize this and incorporate the new regulations, so that you will be able to get your discounts and also be able to appeal and be able to be safer and hopefully have better insurance. So that is what we're seeing there. Now, what we are seeing is that the framework is working. So we have now, because during our entire process, we weren't doing this just in a silo, just the agencies. No, we were engaging everyone. The insurance companies were able to also, in the hearings that we held, they were also able to to say what they were concerned about, or what the different things are. So we now have several insurance companies that are already offering these discounts. So 2 out of 5, every 5 consumers has the ability to get up to 20% discounts for their wildfire safe or hardened homes. And that is a 6 times increase since 2019. So we are seeing that insurance companies are understanding that this is a new thing. They need to move into this direction, and we need to work with them so that they can provide better service for our communities. So all of them, at this point, every single insurance company is going to have to provide this. There's no way around it. They all will have to. So we have in our website a listing of the insurance companies that are already doing this, and then you will also have the opportunity to check in with your agencies directly. We have an 800 number where we have people who are in the office, 8 a.m. to 5, or not in the office, but they are available to talk to you. These folks are insurance experts. They work with insurance companies, and so when you call us or you fill out a form for a request for assistance form, we are able to then get your permission to look at your policies. We review those with you. We check in with the insurance companies and work together to try to figure out how to help you and make sure that whatever it is that you need, or whatever the issue might be that you are having, that we're able to take care of. So I'm going to leave that up here, but also I have just the flyers that have the information there as well, and just general information where you can reach us as well. So we are available. Our website is very simple, insurance.ca.gov, and so you can reach us there at any time. If you call during, between 8 and 5 p.m., 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., and we don't answer the phone, we have a 1-minute turnaround. So if you leave your number there, we will call you back within 1 minute. We are very proud of that because, as a state agency, we very much make absolutely sure that we are available and that we can help you in that sense. So you can reach us here, and now I'm available to help answer questions. Yes.
I have a question. We have many homeowners associations in Newport Beach. One of the questions, and the biggest question, is fire after earthquake. A lot of the homeowners associations have given up having fire covered within the earthquake policies because of cost. Now they are worried about what will the homeowner fire policy cover the fire after earthquake. If the earthquake is the cause of the fire by exploding gas lines or whatever.
Yeah. So the issue with that is so there is earthquake insurance specifically for all the different things that can happen within an earthquake. You have to have that insurance. You have to purchase sometime before an earthquake happens. So right, so they're very much so aware of that.
What they're doing is they've had all the conditions and the policies, but because of cost now, many of the homeowners associations are either giving up the earthquake policy or covering earthquake only, shake only.
Yeah.
The question is, will the commercial fire policy pick up that cost?
Not if it is specifically related to the earthquake.
Well, that's a question of, everyone knows insurance companies don't have bad names for their.
It is very much, yeah, and that is one thing that we have, we're always hearing from folks, and we're always, very cognizant of the fact that insurance companies will do whatever they can to not have to, cover. So what we are doing is making sure that, that whatever it is that you pay for, that you are able to get. Now, I know that there are people within our department that deal with this specifically, and so they might be able to give you a little bit more information or more detailed, advice on this. But what I do know is that if it is part of the earthquake, if it is because of the earthquake, then that would not be covered.
Thank you, Yulia. I would invite anybody who does have a question now to come to the mic so that we can make sure to get those questions available to the people that are online listening, and the questions to Fire Marshal Bass or our insurance commissioner. So,
It's oh boy. It stands for, yeah. I apologize. It is the,
I don't know.
boy, I can't remember exactly what the acronym is. I can look it up, but, yeah.
Thanks for really good talks, both of you. I thought that was very informational. This question is for Julia. I apologize because I may have the dates and the numbers mixed up, but the Paradise campfire was about 4 years ago. And I believe the population went literally overnight from 27,000 to 2,000 people, 94% decrease. And I believe there were 14,000 homes that were destroyed, 14,000. So my question is really two questions. What was the carrier response, and how many of those 14,000 destroyed homes were covered by carriers 4 years ago? And now that Paradise is starting to come back, they have a program called the Paradise Rebuild Foundation, if I recall correctly. Are the carriers coming back for properties located so close to the forest area?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paradise is an interesting area, and because there were so many reasons of why that was just a perfect firestorm for them. It was awful, and one of them was because there was only one road in and out of that area. And so even though, when people were trying to get out and, firefighters were trying to get over there, it was just a mess. And that has not necessarily been fixed just yet. Now, insurance companies were able to provide services to all of the people that needed it at the time. The Department of Insurance was there. We had several different meetings and that we attended to help people make sure that they were able to get the services. Now, only one insurance company actually went down and was not able to provide assistance. They went belly up, and it was a very small insurance company, and so we helped those people as well. But we, I don't have the exact numbers as to how many were, so I can certainly find out and get that information for you. But at this point, there is a whole process. The whole community has been working really hard to rebuild itself, and now it is so much more hardened because they learned, right? They saw it. So there have been a lot of different programs where people have reimagined how they can be safer, and that's really wonderful. Except that later on there was we have a particular home or organizations that are building homes there that still can't get insurance, because the insurance companies are still a little gun shy on that. And the problem with all of this is very much so, if you can't get insurance, you can't buy the house. Or if you have your house, you can't sell it because nobody, in order to buy it, you can't get insurance. So that is still a problem. That community was devastated, and they're working really hard to rebuild and do everything right. And we continue to work with them. United Policyholders is one of the organizations that is very much involved with them to try to find solutions for them as well. So there are different things that are happening there, but there's a lot more infrastructure that needs to happen in order for it to come back to what it was before. So unfortunately.
Thank you, Commissioner Juarez and Kevin Bass, Fire Marshal. My name's Dennis Labange. I live in Newport Coast. I've been a City of Newport Beach resident since calendar year 2000. Commissioner Juarez, I need clarification on the insurance company's notice to cancellation, because in our neighborhood, in our general community, that we have about, in one section, we have about 1,600 homeowners, and then there are many other master HOAs that have additional homeowners, let's call it 5,000 or something. What is I was confused by the slide deck that you had up there that talked about the notice requirements that are in place now and maybe coming up shortly on cancellation. Can you clarify that? And then I have a second follow-up question.
Sure. So before, insurance companies had 45 days to let you know, like in 45 days we will non-renew. And so now you have 75 days that they have to give you in order for you to be able to find insurance. What I suggest is, if you have received a non-renewal, to call our department, and what we can do is we can contact the insurance company, work with them, and work with you to try to find, to try to help you find different insurance, but also to maybe work with them to help you with the time that you need in order for you to get that as well.
Right. On that same page of the second deck, the second part of that page, there was a comment about in 1 year, or there was a 1 year moratorium on non-renewals. That's the part that I'm confused about, the 1 year non-renewable and what you've just mentioned just now.
So it is for the non-renewals, the moratorium was,
Next deck after that.
so the moratorium is actually for when, sorry, I'll find it, but it's when insurance companies have, when the governor has declared a fire, a state of emergency.
Yes.
For that particular fire. So there's that community where the fire was, and then the surrounding.
I see.
communities of
Okay.
the fire, they have the moratorium.
So that's after the fact, after there has been the fact.
After the fire, after
Okay.
it has been declared a state of emergency. You can go into our website and you can put your zip code in there to see if you are under that moratorium.
Okay.
Under the moratorium, and it tells you, it gives you like exactly where.
Thank you. Then my second question was, on the wildfire risk score, are those parameters published and firm, or are they in development and individual insurance companies offer their own?
Yeah, so every insurance company is going to, so like I said, they will have until April 12th to turn in how they're going to use this. They also need to tell us how they're going to show, what is it going to be the process, and where they're going to, and how are they going to work with the consumer to make sure that you're aware of what your wildfire risk score is and how they can appeal it. So there has to be a whole system, and each insurance company is going to have to provide one.
Thank you for being here. My name is Gina Daly, and we have an insurance agency here in Newport Beach and write home and auto and commercial. And my question is on the Firewise community. I see that on all applications, but I have no idea what it entails. And how do we get that discount?
Absolutely. So the Firewise community is it's actually a federally acknowledged.
It's a National Fire Protection Association, NFPA program that's recognized nationally. This program is a landscape program that allows communities to still have a theme, but there is a set series of criteria that you go through, adopt, and when you've completed it and it's been reviewed by the authority of jurisdiction,
Yes.
then
Okay.
you will be able to submit, and it'll go through the process, and then NFPA gives you that designation as a Firewise community. It's actually a pretty, it's a significant process, but once you get through it to the end, you are recognized as doing something really special
Okay.
and protecting your community.
And does that generally, it's for more HOAs because they have more control over
Yes.
neighborhoods?
Yes, and my inspector, Ramey Woon, and I will meet with any HOA who invites us, so we can go ahead and get them started on that process. In addition to that, we are launching a Newport Beach Fire Safe Council, and one of the aims of the council is to create certain committees, and one of our top committees is to set up a Firewise group so that they can educate both the homeowners and the HOAs from within. On the government side, they'll be the private resident side.
Okay, very good to know. I have one more question for you. So, you had mentioned state of emergency. So we've been in a state of emergency in California since March 2020. And so that has not allowed, the insurance companies, their insurance rate hikes have not been approved since that time. And we're seeing a little bit of stress from the insurance company and backlash on the homeowners and the increase in premiums. Do you suspect that that rate moratorium will be lifted come March or February when we'll be out of that state of emergency?
Every insurance company needs to turn in their different rates, right?
Sure.
Now, what happens is insurance companies know that if they request a rate increase of 6.9%, that increase can just go directly to the department. The department scrutinizes it, figures it out if it's possible, if it's okay, and so if everything works out, then they would be able to get that. However, if they request an increase of maybe 7% or 8% or anything higher than that, the insurance companies know that then the public can come in and then request a hearing and actually look at, and so then everybody gets to see it, right?
Yeah.
So what we have seen is that insurance companies will, say, give me a 6.9 increase. We review it. We say, okay, this is fine. You can charge 6.9. Then the very next day, they apply for another one.
Sure.
6.9, right? And so then what the commissioner has done, he has met with the insurance companies and said, okay, this is not working because you're not getting the rates that you need, and you're making us work 2 or 3 times, more, and yet we're not, and then we're looking like the bad guys, but we're not really getting anywhere. So be honest with us and ask for what it is that you need.
So have
the
any
whole
of the
process.
6.9 been approved since March 2020?
There have been.
Okay.
There have been, and those have been sent. So interestingly enough.
That's just what I'm hearing from
Yeah,
insurance
and
carriers.
so, and of course, different folks will say different things.
Yes.
But what has happened, then the messaging that is given to consumers is, well, the department is making us charge you more.
Right.
And, it's,
And
the
I
department
think,
is not making you charge
yeah,
more.
everybody's stressed with what it costs to get a new car,
Everything.
repair a car, build a home, rebuild a home, everything's crazy.
Yeah, and so so there are all of these different things that are happening, right? So, so there, the commissioner has the responsibility to make sure that rates are not so excessive that people can't pay them, but also the responsibility to make sure that the market is able to sustain itself, that they're able to continue to do business. So there's that, we're working on that and making sure that it works. But that is one of the big things that we're trying to make sure that we communicate with insurance companies is, if you need the rates, give us exactly what it is. And so we do have insurance companies that are actually now giving us the actual their actual needs. And now we're looking at it in terms of, okay, let's do a holistic look at all of this. But this part was very, the part of, for homeowners, this has been something that we needed to deal with regardless of anything, because what is happening is the insurance companies are telling consumers, we can't take that risk, it's too risky, we're not gonna sell homeowners insurance, so go to the FAIR plan. When they go to the FAIR plan says, well, we can't, we're only going to be able to cover this much or whatever. We can't do that.
Right.
So then, but at the same time, the FAIR plan says we can't offer all of this insurance because we're not supposed to be competing against the insurance companies. That's fine, but the insurance companies should be selling insurance.
Right.
So there's, we have, it's a system that we need to work with, just to try to, find common ground. And I'm confident that, through these things, we're going to be able to, make some movement, but it is something that we all have to work together. I'm
we
expecting that by April,
Okay.
we will have a little bit more clarity as to what is happening and how we're moving on that.
Well, we appreciate you protecting the consumer.
James in the back, FAIR stands for Fair Access to Insurance and Finance. So that actually is
Oh,
Thank you.
the other thing is we're down to the last 5 minutes.
yep. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Tanner sent some questions in a really nice long email with pictures, so we'll end with you. Do you have a
Thank you very much. Dave Tanner, Newport resident, long time, 47 years environmental planning. And as the chief said, I sent some questions in. My concern focuses on wildland fires, Santa Ana-driven wildland fires that could become urban fires. I think we've dodged a couple of bullets. I think we're going to face this in the future. What we've seen after the Woolsey fire, 2018, the Santa Monica Mountains fire, if you remember, it went all the way to the coast, was mutual aid agreements failed. As a result of that and other fires that year, the power company said, we're going to protect our liability and we might cut power off. They put Newport Beach on notice for that. So on the one hand, I'm thrilled. I'd like to thank Speak Up Newport for hosting this. And I feel that we have some of the best quality people to look out for us. I feel like we're in good hands. That's a joke, insurance joke. But I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm wondering what the city can do since you're updating the general plan. The state is imposing 4,800 units on us by 2029. Our staff, our planning staff is saying that could easily double to 9,800 and some units. So what are you doing to protect our health and safety from catastrophic fires where we might have an evacuation or something like that? Thank you.
Well, some of the things that we are doing, number one, is we update our building codes and fire codes every 3 years. We are presenting the report to the council next Tuesday for the first hearing, updating those codes, which include Chapter 7A and improvements for upgraded construction if you're in a wildland area. I will also be adding some additional amendments to make existing homes have to do some improvements as well. In addition to that, we do have a hazard mitigation plan. It is being reevaluated to address questions that have been brought up, particularly evacuation routes and how we get them posted. We do subscribe to Alert OC, so if you would look up on Alert OC, it will give you the opportunity to set your numbers, your home number, your cell phone number, your work number, so that if there is an emergency, you will get a message. And they test those systems out. As a matter of fact, if you belong, you probably got something during the great shakeout. And then in addition to that, we also have the new Fire Safe Council, which is going to give homeowners an opportunity to participate and do what I would call grassroots movements to help make their homes safer, make their community safer, and address some of those questions in terms of redundancy on how they can protect themselves, but also help their neighbors. You probably even heard about CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team. They also are part of it. So there's a number of working pieces, but we are always refining them, and I thank you for bringing that up because we are right in the middle of working on them again.
My name is Larry Fortmiller, a Newport Coast resident. Without going into details because of time, 2 years ago I was dropped by one of the big five insurance companies. We had automobile, home, fire, earthquake, umbrella, all with the same company for about 10 years. No claims. They just dropped us. Using 2 agents and my own phone skills, we contacted 14 insurance companies and no one would pick up the policy Fortunately, I was a veteran and USAA picked me up. My impression was that the insurance companies were basing it more on how much exposure they had by zip code or community or something like that. It was how many policies they had written to a neighborhood that drove their decision making, and I kind of picked that up along the way. I guess my question is, and your slide kind of talked about getting discounts and things of that nature, the 6.9% thing. I'm concerned about getting dropped again. Never mind getting a discount, I'll pay it. But I want to have a policy other than fair. I guess one of my questions would be, how many insurance companies have left California in the last 4 or 5 years?
None.
None, okay. And what's your prognosis on that? Because the health of the entire system seems to be suspect in my mind. Thank you.
Absolutely, sure. Just so you know, we hear that from insurance companies all the time, and it's like, oh, this is, we can't charge what we need to, so we're going to leave the state, we're going to leave the state, we're going to leave the state. Not happening. California is the largest insurance market in the entire country, and now we are second in the world, only second to China. That means that California itself, everybody wants to do business here. There is no way that insurance companies are leaving anytime soon. So there's that. Now, what I would suggest with when we talk to consumers is, when you are looking for insurance, normally we call our local insurance company, insurance agent, right, from your local area and all of that. Well, what happens is they have a book of different insurance companies that they work with, but it is very very limited because they have a lot of liability in the same area. So what I suggest, and what we tell folks is, call an insurance company way out of your area. Call an insurance company in Sacramento, call brokers in like totally different area than yours, because they might have other insurance companies that they might be working with that they can look at their books and say, well, we have a lot of exposure here in Northern California, but not so much over here. We can take that. So then unfortunately, that's the game that we got to play, right? The commissioner always says, even though, they tell you, we're a good neighbor, and we're, all of this stuff, is like, no, this is a business. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is people want to make money. That's the end game. And if you're, if there's too much exposure and they feel like they're gonna lose money if there's a fire right there and then, there's too many people, they're out. So that's why we need to, expand our reach in that sense. So look at it in those terms. Look at it like when you have, let's say, your cable company, your cable bill. All of a sudden, your cable bill goes up, $200. You call them up and say, I think I'm going to go and get Dish instead. Wait a minute. Maybe we can get you something different, right? So those are the types of things that, unfortunately, we have to figure out how do we do that. So we have our top 10 tips in our website that you can look into and see if maybe that those are opportunities there. But the market is, insurance companies are not leaving the state. They're trying to figure out how to maneuver so that they can still sell and they can still make money, but not have that exposure. But we're working on that.
Okay, this will be our last question.
Okay, great. Be quick. I'm Gary Wright. I'm in Newport Coast. Thanks a lot for helping us out in this. I'm on a homeowners board as well, and I got a couple concerns. One is, where do you draw the line about what the responsibility is for the board to lead like a fire-wise community, and like where do you draw the line on the community? Is it Newport Coast with 27 HOAs in it, or is it each HOA that's butted up against another one? Because I think it's an important distinction, because I got a notice from my insurance agent, State Farm, that said, hey, great, you're getting this discount for fire protection, but if you don't answer these questions by January 22nd, we're removing the discount. And then they're going to say, oh, you're not in a fire-wise community, even if I do the work. Right? So I don't know if this is setting up to be like a cycle where they're going to have an infinite out to constantly raise my insurance because they don't like where we live in a very high fire hazard area.
Well, My plan, and I haven't got approval yet from my Fire Safe Council group, is that each HOA is looking to do their individual Firewise plan. And the reason why is it's manageable. You have one theme, another HOA may have a different landscape theme. And that's okay. The Firewise methodology allows that. But if we were to take all of Newport Coast, 5,000, I think, is the number I have to research because I don't think in that big of terms. I like to go smaller. But if we worked all Newport Coast at one time, I got a lot of people who may say, I don't like the direction we're going. But if we start with individual HOAs and Ziani gets a Firewise, Travari, and then Altiz, and then all the different HOA groups start tumbling down with new Firewise programs, the insurance industry is going to see, you guys mean business. You're making a difference. But let's face it, we all have ideas of how we like our neighborhood to look.
Yeah. I mean, I have 111 homes. All it's going to take is one guy to keep the area from being.
It won't be one guy. What happens is on HOAs, particularly Newport Coast, is the homeowners have their property to deal with.
Right.
HOA controls that person by rules and regulations, CC&Rs and such. But the HOA president and the board and the property manager and the group that supports them, they're going to control all of the common areas. Right. That's the area that we're focusing on. So the HOA board is the one who's going to be inviting me to come over and help them create their Fireways program, or in calling the Fire Safe Council and inviting them to help them put this together. But it's the board because they control the common space,
Right.
and that's the area we're targeting.
Yeah. I'm just concerned that it's going to be the one person who doesn't do their own property that's going to kill it for everyone around.
If we were outside of an HOA, I would agree with you. I would see that as the problem. But as an HOA, they have so many other mechanisms to help create the controls, particularly since they really are responsible for the common areas. And that's the areas that are weak. That's the community aspect that we're shooting for in the Firewise plans.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, let's hear it for our panelists. Thank you very much. That was really good information, a lot of stuff I really didn't know. Thanks to our moderators, Jeff and Robin. Thank you. Just a couple of closing remarks here. Want to thank the bungalow again for the pre-Thanksgiving dinner. Also, Mayor's Dinner, February 9th at the Vea Hotel. Watch for the announcements on that coming up here. We're going to be dark in December. But January 11th, we're going to have Charlene Reynolds, the airport director, to talk about John Wayne Airport. So that's going to be our subject for January. So until then, have a happy holiday, and we'll see you next year.